And an article I did on it after I'd been to this introductory session, it says before the 3rd degree, which is when you actually become a practitioner, before the 3rd degree course you have already undertaken special meditations or visualizations, one of which will help you to contact your own Reiki guide. This is what the lady said at the session.
Right.
A spirit being. You will also have had experience with special techniques using 3 sacred symbols. Right. During the course, many claim to have profound experiences in which they see spirits who become their guides. So we've got all this psychic sort of thing going on, occultic stuff going on already in the background before you even see a practitioner.
And that's not second-hand information, is it? You actually heard that talk.
Yes, that's what was actually said, yeah.
And so they were really talking about getting in touch with spirit guides.
Yeah, but she didn't say everybody did have a spirit guide.
No.
But that's often an experience that they have through
so not everybody
attunement.
necessarily, and of course if they do, you're then totally into the occult realm.
That's right, yeah. You're calling on a spirit which won't be an angel, it won't be the Holy Spirit, it will be the only alternative is, the only thing is a demon, really.
And even if a person practicing Reiki doesn't have such a spirit, because I know some people have told me they don't, they're calling on the life force, which most don't know what it is, and it's certainly not the Holy Spirit. So if you allow yourself to be prayed for by somebody practicing Reiki, you are opening yourself up potentially to something coming from a totally different realm from God to touch and alter your life. Yeah.
Absolutely, and you have to, which I thought was interesting as well, for example with dowsing, you have to instruct the rod or the pendulum what to do, because otherwise it won't know which way to swing or whatever.
Okay.
And it's all to do with this life force and communication with this impersonal life force. But this lady on this course said that you have to actually say, I give you permission to do Reiki on me. Right. And you're making a decisive act there of opening yourself up to this force that's coming through. And even the practitioner doesn't know what the force is. So you're opening yourself up to it. If you're not a Christian, that's horrendous. If you're a Christian, there's a degree of protection. But that's not to say you won't be affected in some way.
But we are willfully going outside of God's will. So we, although we may not be totally demon possessed in that sense, because the Holy Spirit's in there, we could be seriously affected.
Yes, you could.
In one way or another, because we have willingly said, I open up to this spirit without actually finding out what that spirit is. Yeah. So Reiki is one of these which we can, from our opinion, clearly say Christians, because of the very definition of what it teaches, should have nothing to do with.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Right. Okay, move on. Kelvin. Kelvin practiced TM for a couple of years, around 1978. He had a dreadful experience where I was suddenly and unexpectedly brought out of a deep meditative state. As a result, it has left me with a nervous disorder whereby the muscles in my neck go into spasm and I have no control over the condition. Since I came to Christ in 1991, I have continually prayed for healing, but as yet I am still plagued by this orphan condition. Doctors tell me it's called spasmodic torticollosis. I think that's how you say it. And there is no cure. I would be interested to know if your guest has any accounts of others having a similar experience.
No, unfortunately, but I wrote an article to a paper once in Birmingham that when they were promoting some sort of workshop or lecture on TM and praising it, and I wrote a letter in to share my experiences. And another lady who had written in didn't get her letter in the paper, but she got it to me somehow, and she said she had bad psychological problems through TM and was absolutely convinced it was TM. She wasn't even a Christian. And I just think there are a lot of people who are out there who are going through these sort of things. But that's, I can't really help, really. I haven't. There's nobody I could put him in touch with as such. But I do think it is a big problem.
Right. Could it be that he's prayed for healing and we don't know? I certainly, Kelvin, I'll get in touch with you tomorrow or as soon as I can to talk a little bit more for you. But because what we're talking about in TM, again, potentially is tapping in to a source other than God, that it could be that maybe some specific confession is needed and maybe almost some form of deliverance in some way or another that's needed here, not just healing. Is that a possibility in that state?
Yes, because I was informed when I did TM, I started as a teenager before I was a Christian, and I was told it had nothing to do with religion. I don't know why I asked the question, but I think it's because I didn't want to be gripped into something, I suppose. And I suppose I could even see there was a religious connection there. But they said it was nothing to do with religion. You can be any religion and do TM practice. But then the tutor actually told me I would have to go to a certain house and undergo some sort of ceremony. And I had to buy some flowers, a hanky, and other things. And when I got there, I had no idea this was going to happen. There was some sort of ceremony went on in a foreign language. And that's when he picked up my mantra, which I had to keep to myself. I wasn't allowed to share it with anybody. It was special, it was mine, and I was to repeat that through my meditation process. So I think the whole area of TM has very, very strong spiritual links. And I mean, I heard that the language used in the initiation process was Sanskrit, which I've not sort of looked into it to verify it, that it's calling on Hindu deities. Wouldn't surprise me. So I think if you're doing TM and there's the secrecy of your mantra, I was almost terrified of actually telling anybody what it was in case there was something would happen. So I think you can get gripped into a sort of a different realm in a way that you need to come out of, and it might involve certainly renounce it in prayer and call on God to deliver you from anything.
Yeah.
On the surface, it looks like a professional businessman's thing, but at the time,
but it is more. It's more than that. So we've got some specific areas that we need to cover. First of all, acupuncture. I would ask you what's the point of it, but I'm not going to do that. It might needle you. But tell us a little bit about acupuncture. How do you view acupuncture? I think there are things where people are talking about it's some scientific evidence that acupuncture works, but at the same time, isn't it based on Eastern philosophies? Chat us through that, if you would, Andy.
Well, I've spoken to a couple of practitioners of acupuncture, and their belief systems are surrounding yin and yang and meridian lines in the body. There's been lots and lots of research done towards acupuncture and to try and give it scientific backing. And I did an article for Reachout Trust a while ago which actually looked at some of the evidence, and again I was surprised to find there's very little conclusive evidence of healing other than pain relief. There's a lot of people who would say they have relief from pain through using acupuncture, but that's similar to other alternative therapies and other things that can create a placebo effect. But one thing that I noticed with acupuncture, there's a lot of jargon, and it's sometimes difficult to actually understand what the clinical trials are saying. But here's an example of a quote from Acupuncture in Medicine. And this is typical of the vagueness of a lot of their information that they put on the web. Referred pain patterns of some myofascial trigger points are similar to the traditional meridian connections of acupuncture points. The consistent pattern of referred pain in a specific myofascial trigger point suggests that there are fixed connections between certain sensory neurons in the spinal cord. These are probably the same as the connections between acupuncture points along a meridian. So the very basis of acupuncture is this belief in these meridian lines through which the life force travels, it becomes blocked, and the needles are used to actually release that flow of energy. And it's believed that release of the flow of energy brings about the healing.
Right. But what is that flow of energy?
The life force.
The life force. And so, in other words, it's the life force that brings the healing.
Yeah. It's the release of the life force, allowed to flow in the right balance, in the right way, is supposed to bring the healing. Right. Again, this life force is supposed to be an inherently good energy because it's inherently healing, and no danger connected to it whatsoever.